Okay, so I think we all understand that radiation is not good for us, right? It's dangerous. Well, how do you detect radiation? You can't see it, you can't feel it. So there are different ways of detecting it. One method is what's called a film badge dosimeter. So it measures the dose of radioactivity that you might be exposed to. And this sort of thing is used for people like this guy who are working with radioactivity. You want to be able to monitor what you've been exposed to, because a certain amount's okay, and above that it's not okay. And you want to know. And this is the problem with those, like the Curies. They didn't realize that, they're playing around with all this radioactive stuff, and it killed them eventually. So it's got a piece of film inside a little plastic holder, and you wear it on your clothes, and so the badge is exposed to whatever you're exposed to. And then periodically they take the badge and they process the film, and they can measure how much radiation you've been exposed to. Another way to detect radioactivity is a Geiger counter. And this is probably what you've seen in movies. We have this association of somebody holding this thing and clicks, right? And it click, 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 click. And that's a lot of radioactivity. And then no clicks is no radioactivity. And that's a real device. You don't always set it for an audible clicking, though. But here's the idea. Here you have an amplifier and a counter, and you have high voltage. You have this tube. It's a tube filled with argon gas. It's not that different from those cathode tubes that we used when we used the spectrometers and looked at the emission spectra. There's a high voltage here, and in order for the voltage to pass, you need ions to conduct the current from the cathode to the anode. And so argon ions need to form, but they don't just form on their own. What happens is when radioactive particles come in here, they ionize the argon atoms and allow the atoms to conduct electricity. And with this meter, you can measure how much current is flowing. And so that's how a Geiger counter works. You can use it on a meter, a digital meter, an analog meter, or you can have an audible click if that's more useful. And that's what we stereotypically associate with radioactivity. Another type of detector is a scintillation counter. And here we have a material like sodium iodide or cesium iodide that will emit ultraviolet or visible light when it's exposed to these energetic particles. We also have this idea that radioactive things glow in the dark, right? Well, radiation can cause things to glow in the dark, and that's what happens with these types of compounds. When they are exposed to radiation, they will emit either UV or visible light, and then we can detect that and turn it into a signal.